Welcome in, Sun Devil fans, to another episode of Echo from the Buttes. I'm your host, Tom Hardon. With me, I have Andrew Hayslett and Austen Bundy, and it's Hall of Fame week from Mountain America Stadium. Big matchup against the number 7 ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders, a game that at the start of the season was viewed as a possible Big 12 championship game preview. Now, the Sun Devils coming off a loss in Salt Lake City. It's an effort to save the championship game bid for the Sun Devils. And Andrew, we'll start with you. Practice this week. What have we been seeing out of the team in practice?
Yeah, on Tuesday we saw a lot of intensity. On Wednesday too. Tuesday we saw actual tackling in practice for a little bit. The first, I think it was the second team, or when the good on good was happening, not against the scout team. We saw some tackling there, which is trying to get that intensity up. And on Wednesday, what we saw is Jordan Tyson and Miles Rouser. They were barking at each other at one point in the 11-on-11s after Tyson made a good catch as they were going down the field, and then it was Alfred and a couple other guys on defense had to get in on Rouser to kind of hold him back. Just showing that intensity is that these guys are hungry, they want it, and they feel that their season could potentially be on the line this week.
Austin, with that intensity, does that say to you that these guys are just straight up turning the page from last week's loss?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kenny's going to get him ready. What happened. Last week does not matter anymore. This week is the beginning of the rest of the season. You focus on what you can control, what's in front of you, and that's going to be Texas Tech coming into Mountain America Stadium. The intensity at practice shows that these guys are pissed. They really want to avenge the losses this season, prove that they are the Peach Bowl team that we saw last season, that they still have a versatile offense, they still have a strong defense, and hopefully getting Sam Leavitt back. He's probable right now on the injury report, but hopefully getting him back on Saturday is going to really give a boost to this offense and hopefully catch the Red Raiders by surprise, that the real Sun Devils are going to step up here.
Hall of Fame weekend, always a big time for on the ASU football schedule, and this year is of extra importance, honoring the 1975 Fiesta Bowl team. We did see the drop of the uniforms to be worn on Saturday, and I think that they are spectacular. Wearing white at home for the first time since 2015, gold shell with the 70s style sunburst logo, and actually in an inverse of what the team actually wore during that 1975 season. This logo is reminiscent of the 76 to 79 years, but still that classic sunburst with the gold tails, gold pants, and white shoes. The striping on the shoulders is very retro. It's got the sparky patch. On your first look of these jerseys, Andrew, what were your thoughts?
I like them. I think it's really cool to do a throwback uniform. Don't really often see that in college as much as the NFL, I think. But I think it's really cool. It's going to be weird to see them wearing white at home as opposed to a maroon or a gold or a black or whatever color they want to roll out. I don't remember the last time they wore white at home off the top of my head. But it's something cool, something different, and I'm all for it.
That game would have been in 2015 against New Mexico for a whiteout early in the season. Makes sense with that being a late August, early September game. Wear white while the temps are hot. But Austin, I'll pivot that to you. Do you think that wearing white at home at this point in the season, do you think that is maybe creating an inadvertent advantage for Texas Tech, being able to come in their all dark uniforms and with their fan base in their dark attire as well?
I mean, we all know look good, play good. Sun Devils look good. I think they're going to play good in those. But wearing white at home is a tradition that really only stopped being a thing in the last like 20 years or so. NFL teams, college teams, they all wore whites at home for the better part of the last century. So this is a hearkening back to an older era of football in general. And I mean, I'm all for it. I love wearing our colors and showing them off at home, but like going back to some tradition, wearing white at home, especially the white uniforms that are hearkening back to that exact era in '75. These are the kind of uniforms, that's the kind of white that you would have seen the Sun Devils wearing at Sun Devil Stadium back in the day anyways. And like to Andrew's point, you're seeing a lot more of these throwback uniforms in college football. I believe Wisconsin had their own throwbacks last year that were very popular. They wore them again this year, I believe. I like when college football is, and these college programs that are very much about the modernizing, very much about having different looks and being unique. I'm very happy to see a lot of their jersey and branding partners embracing the retro, and instead of coming up with something experimental, recycling what's already worked. And we know these 75 uniforms, the ASU Sunburst. ASU's got a lot of great logos in their history, but the Sunburst is one of the best of them. We saw the hockey team wear them on their jerseys and on their helmets last season, and that was a fantastic decision. So the fact that ASU has been able to come up with winning combinations across different sports, I just think, again, you look good, play good, fan base is going to love it. Doesn't matter if they're wearing white, orange, whatever. As long as you're out there playing football, I think the Sun Devils are going to play up to the competition this weekend.
The Sun Devils did wear a variation of these throwbacks in the pandemic impacted 2020 season as well. The only home game of the year against UCLA. Unfortunately, fans at large were not able to see these. Only a handful of team support staff were able to see it in person. So this will be a great opportunity for the fan base to get excited, get behind these jerseys, and who knows? I expect to see a few dozen of them worn by fans throughout the stadium on Saturday. With Hall of Fame weekend as well, we would be remiss if we did not address the inductees to this year's Hall of Fame. First and foremost, that 1975 Sun Devil football team will be so honored. Several members of that team have already been inducted into the Hall of Fame themselves, but now we see the team as a whole inducted into the Hall. Also joining the class of 2025 will be Troy Young, Paul Asmuth, Ryan Bader, Dallas Escobedo, Jeff Ayers, Kelly Farquharson, and Gary Donnelly. What do you guys make of this class of Sun Devils going into the Hall?
It's a solid class. I mean, obviously, like, these are big names in school history. I think I would love. It's not going to happen, but personally, I'd kind of love to see Graham Rossini and the athletic department decide to claim that '75 national championship and hang the banner in Mountain America Stadium for the fan base. I believe we wrote about it on Devils in Detail before the season started, but that ASU team was voted national champions by a smaller publication. The NCAA recognizes it to a degree. It's not something like that ASU has claimed yet, but we know our fearless leader David did bring it up to Graham Rossini at Big 12 Media Days. There are no plans for the school to claim it anytime soon, but you would hope that the seed has been planted for ASU to potentially claim a national championship that it rightfully should have. If UCF can claim a national championship in 2017 without going to the college football playoff, and who was it that just recently? Oh, Auburn. Auburn just claimed like 4 national championships from the 40s for their football team. So I mean, if they can do this and do that in retrospect in the SEC, why can't ASU go and claim a '75 national championship back when they were in the WAC?
And I think Auburn was what really set this hypothesis off as well.
My question is does this mean Arizona State can claim innovation awards from way back in the day too as well? That's 11 straight years of innovation. But
Number one in innovation
Yeah.
since 1886.
But going back to the topic at hand, it's obviously a very prestigious class, a very uh, high talented group. Dallas Escobedo is a name that kind of sticks out to me, the softball pitcher. Softball has been a very successful program at this school, especially around those mid 2000s years in particular. So I think it's cool to see just every sport have people into the Hall of Fame. It's just not a football and basketball club. It's truly an everyone club.
Absolutely, seeing everybody get represented is really what you like to see, and all sports are worthy of recognition for their contributions to the athletic department as a whole. Looking ahead to this weekend, there's no way around it. Texas Tech is a daunting opponent, to say the least, and in our previews for Devils in Detail, we have not been any too, shall we say, optimistic about these chances going into the week. Texas Tech boasts a very, very high-powered offense and a stout defense, top 10, at least top 15 in both passing and rushing offenses and defenses. Andrew, what have some of the, in addition to the live tackling that you've seen in practice, and what have you seen any additions to the play calling that haven't been present in practice?
Not really. And I thought, Tom, you were supposed to be the optimist here.
Well, I got to be a realist every once in a while. Can't let Austen have all the fun.
But yeah, I hadn't really seen anything out of the ordinary. They just practice, other than the live tackling, kind of just felt business as usual to an extent. Like nothing to me jumped out of the ordinary with anything in particular. Just business as usual, trying to just get all the details right. And I think there's the chance for them to do that on Saturday.
Texas Tech is possibly going to be without their starting quarterback, Baron Morton. Will Hammond, the backup, came in last week against Kansas, and they present two very different strategies when you're looking to defend at the quarterback position. Austen with Morton being a more passing quarterback and with Hammond being the running quarterback, who would you rather face if you are the Sun Devil defense?
Can I say neither? They were both pretty scary. I mean, Morton we've seen previously in the season tear up defenses through the air, and then Hammonds was running all over that Kansas defense. So I mean, granted, Kansas is probably not the best case study for a solid defense in the Big 12 this year, but it's still going to prove a gigantic challenge. Considering how poor ASU has fared against mobile quarterbacks. We saw last week with Devin Dampier running all over our defense, and we could hardly stop him at any point. I feel like I would rather take my chance with Morton, considering that if you can pressure him enough, and if maybe he wants to sit in that pocket for a little bit, or you want to force him out and make him uncomfortable, I think you might have a little bit better of a chance in that case. I'm not sure if ASU survives with a pass rush that forces someone like Hammond, who can move quick and get out of the pocket and pick up first downs when you've already committed up the middle in the pass rush. That's where I think I'm a little. If there's a week you want Morton to come back early, this would be the week, because you would hope that maybe you rush him back a little bit. He's not fully there. They have to make changes at halftime, perhaps. Either way, I think this ASU defense is going to be tested by whatever quarterback they get. I think Morton presents a little bit better of the matchup, even though our secondary is still banged up and is not as effective as they could be. Their potential, they've not lived up to it yet. But I think I would rather take chances with Morton handing off the ball and having to prove it through the air like he's done earlier in the year. Hammond, I feel like, as much as he's got a little less experience, ASU has just been burned by mobile quarterbacks, and I'm not sure that's going to be the wisest choice.
Kind of going off of that, Texas Tech plays Oklahoma State next week, who is I'm just going to say the worst team in the Big 12. Until proven otherwise, they are. So if you're Texas Tech, maybe you're trying to be more conservative with Morton, knowing that you have not necessarily a bye week in Oklahoma State, but a pushover coming up. So I think they're trying to lean towards Hammond this week, not push Morton unless he's healthy because of that. And if you are able to get him back for next week, I think that's kind of where you'd want him to be against a team who doesn't pose a threat, respectfully, to Oklahoma State, versus an Arizona State team that probably will, at worst, hang around with you and provide a threat.
Yeah, Hammond has been serviceable through the air, a little bit over 400 yards in backup or mop-up duty in 5 appearances so far this season, but definitely much more of a running quarterback. No matter who is under center, the Texas Tech has so many weapons at their disposal, and they do an incredible job at spreading the ball around. There's no one target that dominates the offensive play. You do have Caleb Douglas and Coy Eakin, who are the leading receivers, but Terrence Carter, who I opined is the tight end that Sun Devil fans wish that Shimon Mateer would be utilized like. And then you have Reggie Virgil and Jacoby Williams, who are both very skilled at pass catching as well. They have 5 receivers with over 200 receiving yards so far this year. There's no shortage of weapons, so how does a depleted secondary like the Sun Devils really defend against that?
I wouldn't really call this Sun Devil secondary depleted. Yes, they do have had Xavier Alfred out for a long time, but there's no really other injury concerns there at the end of the day. I do believe some guys are on the injury report. It's probable, but they'll probably play unless there's some setback, which that's what we saw last week with Sam Leavitt. So take of that what you will. But at the end of the day, I think it's a decent secondary. They have to play at their best, and I think they can shut down the Texas Tech passing offense if they're at their best. That's a key word, if.
Yeah, I think Andrew's got the right point there. If they're at their best, they have not played up to their potential so far this year. We've seen them have some flashes. We've seen them have some good shutdown moments. But they're going to need to be, from start to finish, the dominant force out there when they're on the field. I know that sounds like a Captain Obvious type thing for any. You want them to be dominant every time they're out there on the field for every game. But this is the number 7 team in the nation, and they have proven that they are one of the best through the air. If there's going to be a game that the ASU secondary and the ASU defense is going to have its best game of the year, it's got to be now. It's now or never.
Well, and speaking of Sam Leavitt, back in practice this week, listed as probable on the initial injury report. That is undoubtedly a massive boost just to the feeling in the locker room. We talked about it a little bit on Sunday's recap show, but Andrew, I'm interested to get your opinion on this. Do you think that Jeff Sims was really set up for success going into the Utah game, kind of thrust into the starting role?
That's a good question. Yes and no. Because yes, Sims got the reps on the bye week, but Leavitt got the reps during game week. So that's how I get my yes and no. is yes from the week before, no the week of. So he was given decent opportunity, but at the end of the day, it's going to be tough. Could it have been tougher? Yes. Could it have been easier? Yes. I can't really say on how Sims played. I just didn't watch the game because I was at hockey, and haven't had the time to since, just because of life being busy, So with that said, that's kind of my opinion on that.
Sims looked lost out there, at least because I watched the game from the comfort of my home. He was. It was clear that he was not prepared. Like, he didn't get reps with the ones that week. He was kind of just thrown into the fire. You can be a veteran of college football all you want, but if you're not participating in the system that is going to be on game day, if you're not getting the practice that you need ahead of these games, like, it almost looked like he didn't even get a chance to go through a walkthrough with these guys. He was just not on the same page. He was scrambling a lot and having to pick up the pieces in a lot of these broken plays that just could not get off the ground from the start. And a lot of, you could tell from his throws, like, he and Jordan Tyson were not communicating. It seemed like every other receiver was going in a different direction than what he was calling. It's just the chemistry was not there, and I don't necessarily blame him. I blame the coaches, and I blame however this Sam injury was handled in the week leading up. That it just set him up for failure. Like, Sims was never going to have a shot in that game, just because you can't just tell a backup go in there and hopefully he's going to be able to figure things out. I know sometimes it seems different when you're mid-game and your star quarterback goes down injured and your backup has to come in without having played with the ones during the week in practice, but it just didn't seem like there was any cohesive game plan that was prepared with Sims, and Kenny kind of just was hoping things would work out better, that Sims' veteran abilities would kick in, his instincts would allow him to command the offense, and it was too much for him. I don't blame him at all, but it just didn't work.
Yeah, I think just not being clear on with Levitt getting a lot of the reps in practice up until midweek, that really did not set Sims up for the best situation possible. But like we said, turn the page, learn from that. Sam is listed as healthier, at least initially, in the injury report, but quite a few other names on the list as being out. Got to mention Ben Coleman. Really unfortunate with his injury up in Salt Lake. I have heard that he did undergo surgery, but really tough way for him to round out his Sun Devil career, and really want to wish him the best in all of his future endeavors outside of football. We also have Cyrus Fayasu, who is out for the season with surgery, with a loss at linebacker there.
Medical redshirt is on the table for Cyrus.
Medical redshirt. Well, that is certainly reassuring for going forward. Xavier Alford, we already know, is going to be out for an extended period of time. No real timetable that I've at least been able to see, just that it's a multi-week absence. But in the running back core, we'll be down. The Sun Devils will be down Kyson Brown, and that is a little bit concerning already going up against the best-ranked run defense in Texas Tech, a defense that allows just 62.5 rushing yards per game. Really hoping that a healthy Sam Leavitt is able to spread the ball around against a pass defense that really is no slouch either, allowing under 200 yards per game. In your mind, Austen, is this what is the best recipe for success for the passing game against Texas Tech?
I mean, like you said, you want to see Sam spread the ball around. You want to make sure. I mean, these guys are going to double up Jordan Tyson, obviously, but like everybody else, it seems rosy glasses to put on here, just to be like, oh, everybody's got to step up. Like you got to have other people other than Jordan Tyson catch the ball. I mean, yeah, you want that in any game, but against a defense like this that is this daunting, you need to give Tyson an opportunity to shed a defender. If you need Leavitt to find guys like Shimon Mateer, you need to find Eusebio, you need to find Malik McClain, Jalen Moss. You need to find other guys that this defense is going to give less attention to. You need to find the mismatch on these plays. I'm hoping Kenny has designed plays to create mismatches, especially for a Jordan Tyson who's going to have multiple defenders keyed in on him. I think this is, if there is a game where Kenny has plays that he's not used yet this season, if he's got plays that were experimental, what do you got to lose? Your back is already against the wall. You might as well break out some of these trick plays. You might as well break out some of the plays that you've thrown together in practice but have been a little more conservative about in previous games. Throw everything in the kitchen sink at this defense. They clearly can take everything that's traditional. Why not give them the unorthodox and see if they truly are one of the best in the nation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. Just try to find the weakness, whatever that is. If they're running a zone play, figure out where the hole is on the zone. Find the weak. They're running man. Find the weak defender where he's getting beat, or you can out jump him in one-on-ones, jump ball types, whatever that is. Find it. And I also do think the running back, I think we'll still see our fair share of runs with Raleek Brown. Kanye Udo, whether he's going to be fully healthy or not, I know he was sick on Wednesday, missed practice. Timetable for him is unknown, if he'll return by the end of the week or not. With Tyson, I know he's going to be. Kenny said he'll be out until till around the second bye week, so that's kind of the timetable for him. What he said at practice on Wednesday, and then outside of Raleek and possibly Udo, we'll see a lot of Demarius Man Robinson, and he can be explosive in practice. A lot of the reporters that when I've talked to them in practice, they all seem to be high on Man. We'll see if Man is the man on Saturday. Possibly if Raleek is the only guy with possibly Udo, and we know Kyson's out. So that'll be interesting to see that dynamic on what that could be with the pieces and parts moving there as well.
Good stuff there. We are going to take a quick little jog away from the football talk just for right now. Andrew and I were both at the Icebreaker games for hockey this past weekend, and Andrew, I'm interested to hear what some of your takeaways from hockey last weekend were. What were your views from the student section?
To start off, I think the biggest takeaway from the weekend was in the second game. 5 goals scored on the power play. All 5 were on the power play. Cruz Lucius with a hat trick, with one of them coming up on an empty net is, I think, what you want to see after the power play started. I don't remember what I mentioned in my article, but you can read that on Devils in Detail for the exact numbers, because I can barely remember numbers as it is, but it was like 1 for 17 or something.
Yep, one for 17 is exactly what the Devils were before Saturday's game.
And in Saturday's game, they got their fair share of chances on the power play. That's to be I would be understating it by saying that, because I think they got like 8 or 9, if memory serves me right.
I have 5 out of 9 on the power play.
5 out of 9, which is what you want to see. I thought the defense played a lot better on Saturday in particular. Goaltending was, I would say, elite through the 2 games. It is concerning that a little bit concerning that Samuel Urban was cramping during his first start. Hopefully, that's a little bit nervous as he can get it all worked out at some point whenever he starts next. But regardless of that, To me, it was interesting how they went with 17, or not 17, 13 forwards and 6 defensemen instead of 12 and 7. And that seemed to work really well, as I think that the scoring was what it needed to be, and the defense was clicking. I th- what?
And I think the emphasis was on jump-starting the power play, and by inserting that 13th forward, that really puts the emphasis back on the offensive side of the puck. Typically, we had seen Lincoln Keene dressing as the 7th defenseman. This past weekend, I know Johnny Waldron was listed as the extra forward for at least one of the games.
Both.
For both the games. But it'll be interesting to see how that lineup chart evolves throughout the season. My biggest takeaway was the emergence of the Crandall, Potter, Keevan line. I thought that line is absolutely built for speed and is one that Coach Powers should keep intact at all costs as the season goes on. I think that is the anchor line to build around for developing throughout the year. Andrew, what do you think on that?
Yeah, they're really the kids line out there, with Potter being an 18-year-old sophomore. Keevan, I think, is also 18 as a freshman, and Carmelo is also a freshman. I'm not sure how old he is, but a lot of youth on that line with Potter and Keevan, the two good friends, former U.S. national team development program players. That's a great line. Your first line on the power play looked really well, of Lucius, Shimmick. Those two are buddies, have been playing for a long time together. And then you've got McGurn on that line as well. And then with the power play, they have Potter's the 4th forward. They looked good. And also the 4th line looks really good for a 4th line. You've got Alfano, Nash, and alongside flipping me right now, who's on that line, Morel. Those three looked great, and when Smolin joined them on the power play, they looked great. Right now, and then for Miami, Jack Beck's coming back. And he's a guy who's everyone saying, oh yeah, this guy's really good. He's going to be a top 2-line player. And I'm asking myself, okay, he's going to play. Who's going to get taken out of the lineup for him? Because I see a lot of talented guys that in lines I wouldn't want to break up. It's probably going to be someone on the 3rd line, or the extra skater and Johnny Waldron. But I don't know, who are you going to take out? And then on the defensive side of that, the same coin, Brazen Bozer's going to come back soon. He's going to be an impact player. Who are you going to take out? Are you going to go back to 7 D-men, or are you going to take out so you have to take out another forward, or are you going to take out a defensive guy who's been playing well? Like you mentioned, Lincoln Keene. He started on that extra skater role. He got moved up to the 3rd D pair, replacing Zemlak. So there's so many moving parts, guys potentially coming back, that make this good team even better. And if you're a team looking at this Arizona State team, you're shaking in your boots, because I think this team could be more talented than what last year's team was at this point.
And then, not to mention, you've also got Richie Barron, who's been getting a lot of minutes on the 2nd D pairing with Joel Shelberg. And Sam Court has been paired with Lincoln Keene over this last weekend. You've got Kipke and Dowd on the top pairing. I mean, there's depth all over the place on this roster, and it's exciting and worrisome at the same time, because, like you said, you don't want to split up a lot of these lines that are really starting to gel this early in the season. But when you're getting 2 high-caliber players coming back in Jack Beck and Brazen Bozer, it becomes a little bit of a necessity. Just hoping that the right moves can be made to keep everybody together as much as possible, and get the most playing time for this incredibly deep roster. We've also got to keep in mind we've got Austen Zemlak, who has seen one game of action, and Braxton Whitehead, who has had very limited action as well.
I don't think he's played yet this season. I thought he was going to be a guy that's going to be great for this team.
And he was the first of the CHL commits to come down. What really opened up this whole floodgate coming from Canada to the NCAA. So this will be really interesting to see how the lineup shakes out throughout the rest of the season. But taking a look.
I do want to mention one more guy in Tucker Ness, even though he hasn't played. When he's on the ice, I think he's a fun guy to watch. Just the way he just plows into people, which we'll see if Coach Greg Powers wants to go big. He's a big dude. He's 6'2", 220, something like that. And if you need big, he's big.
And not only is he fun to watch, but he is very versatile. He has dressed as both the 13th forward and as a defenseman. His true position is defense, but he has that ability to jump up onto the offensive play and be that physical presence. But I do want to take a quick glance at the weekend series for Sun Devil hockey. Playing the first games on the road in the state of South Dakota against the Augustana Vikings. The Sun Devils are 1-1 in program history against Augustana. Those two games coming in the 2023-24 season at Mullet Arena. And Augustana is not a team to take lightly. Head coach Garrett Raboyne, in his third season now behind the bench, last season had the Vikings as the number 2 seed in the CCHA tournament, and this is the kind of road games that you can't, you have to be able to win these, and you can't go into a matchup against a CCHA team, no matter who they are, and think, we can kind of play back a little bit. Augustana is going to play very tough, and in my preview for Devils in Detail, I highlighted the goaltending in Josh Kotai. He was a semifinalist for the Mike Richter Award last year, second team All CCHA, and finished third in the CCHA in both goals against average and save percentage. He is a very high caliber netminder, and the defense is the probably the next strongest point for Augustana as well. 3 very strong defensemen returning in Hayden Hennon, Easton Young, and Owen Baumgartner. These guys are going to play the Sun Devils tough. They have played them tough in the past, and I'm interested to see if the team keeps the pedal down on the gas after coming home with their 4th consecutive in-season tournament win.
Yeah, Augustana's that's a team that's going to play you tough. They got something to prove this year. This is their first full season of CCHA play. This is obviously a non-conference game for them, but clearly they're a team that has something to prove this year. As ASU last year, they had something to prove. We all saw in their first season of NCHC play. Augustana, in my mind, was, I think, the 3rd best team heading in the CCHA heading into this year. So you can't write them off, because the CCHA is still decent, at least the top end. And Augustana is a decent team. They're going to play you tough. They're going to play you hard. You can't write them off, especially, I believe, it's their home opener in their place this season. So that they're going to be rocking in South Dakota.
And Augustana has come off of an early season schedule that they've really they're getting themselves. They'd split at Minnesota Duluth, lost 4-1 on Friday, but then Coach Josh Kotai got the shutout 4-0 on Saturday. This team, he is very, very capable of goalieing teams, as a lot of people would put that. Minnesota Duluth just ran into Kotai on a great night, and he absolutely shut them down.
Absolutely. This is a team that you, like I said, can't write off. Uh, Splitting with a different NCHC team, even though it's Minnesota Duluth, probably one of the worst teams in the NCHC, they're still going to be a tough team, and I think that's kind of a good measuring stick to see. This team is clearly competent. They tied in an exhibition at St. Cloud State as well, so Augustana is a solid team, and I think realistically it's safe to like my prediction for these two games is I think we're going to see a split, honestly.
Do you expect to see Sammy Orban starting one of these games?
Yes, I think it's I would say that. And it could be the Sun Devils could win the game. Urban wins or loses. That's just it's hard to predict what Sun Devil team we'll see, what Augustana team we'll see, but it'll be a good comparison between the two goalies when they're playing the same team in back-to-back nights. Okay, can kind of put them together. See, okay, here's where Hasley is, here's where Urban is. Granted, it's you might not get their best performances each night, but it's kind of say, okay, this is how close they are, regardless.
Well, we will have full updates on the series both nights this all weekend long on Devils in Detail. Friday's game starts at 5 p.m. Arizona time with Saturday's game at 4 p.m. Both games will air locally in the Phoenix market on Fox 10 Extra and will stream nationwide on Midco Sports Plus. All right, pivoting back to football. It's time to get our predictions in for this weekend. And Andrew, we're going to go ahead and start with you on this one. Give us a score prediction and a player to, your MVP of the game, offensive or defensive. Doesn't have to be one for each side.
Well, the question isn't this game. It's obvious. Anyone, I think, that has been following the team, it knows. Will Sam Leavitt play is the question. I break that down into three separate questions. Could Sam Leavitt play? The answer is yes. I think if the staff really wanted him to play, I think he would have played. But I think it leads me to my second question is, should Sam Leavitt play? I'm no doctor. I know if you search up my name on Google, there is a doctor that comes up. That is not me. I just have an armchair degree. And based off of what I've seen, I would say no. But what do I know? That's kind of that's just my thoughts. And those two questions are what's going to guide this third question is, will he play? I would say yes. This is a game that means so much. I think if the Sun Devils wind up losing this game, their hopes go down smaller than what they are. They'd be 2-2 to start conference play, which is what they started conference play last year, which is very important to note. So that they'd have to run the table if they have any chance of making the college football playoff. So, I'm getting ahead of myself because that's a long way down the road, but you still got to keep the end goal in mind here. So, this is a must-win game for the Sun Devils, and I think they got to put every piece out there that they possibly can. That's going to be Sam Leavitt. However, I think Texas Tech is too much of a mountain to move. And I just don't think the Sun Devils will get it done. I think it can be a close game. I think it's going to be a real battle for four quarters, and I think whoever gets the ball last is going to win this game. And I think that's going to be Texas Tech. I'm going to put the score at 33-30. Texas Tech wins. Sam Leavitt does have a good game in his return, though.
Austen, we'll turn to you.
I'll raise Andrew with a fourth question here. Will it be detrimental if Sam plays? To his career? Potentially. Because you don't want to rush him back and then end up screwing up his right foot any more than it needs to be, and you could lose him for the rest of the season. One bad sack, one bad tackle could spell doom for his football prospects. I mean, granted, any game he goes into that could potentially happen, but when you're already working on an injury that you probably should have sat out or had treated differently leading up to last week's game, there's a lot of unpredictability there and a lot of potential volatility. I'm not going to pick a player for my key person. I'm going with Kenny because this is going to be a marquee moment, I think, for his legacy because you need a rebound. You've got a top 10 team coming into Mountain America Stadium. I'm not saying you necessarily need to win this game in order for this to be a successful moment in Kenny's career. Obviously, you want the win, but as long as they don't go out there and get trounced, as long as they go out there and they put up a good fight, they keep this thing close, they prove that they had a chance in this thing, then we all know that the Kenny experiment is still on track for more success. But if they go out there, they look even more unprepared, they just can't put a drive together. I mean, especially if it's not Sam, let's say it's Sims that goes out there again, and it's the same thing as the Utah game. I'm not saying there's any hot seat on Kenny, but it's the lack of planning, lack of coordination, any kind of cohesive preparation. It just reflects poorly on the management of the team, especially a year removed from the amount of success that they had. This is going to be a very tough matchup, but ASU tends to thrive in those. So I still think ASU walks away losers in this game, but all I'm looking for is some fight. I'm looking for them to go out there, make this thing close. I'm looking for them to go out there and just at least prove that this team does not go down without swinging. I think if there's anything that would deflate the season more and potentially put the team on a poor track for a poor finish to the rest of the year, it would be a blowout loss. So as long as it's not that, then I think it's going to be a good enough night in Tempe for the program.
I want to weigh on something else. Is last year this team had 5 quarterbacks like this year: Leavitt, Sims, Christian Hunt, who's still here. They had Navi on the team, who wound up transferring to JUCO, and they kind of replaced him with Butter Tolleson. The other quarterback on the team last year was Trenton Bourget, experienced starter, experienced guy who started in games before. Not the guy you'd want to have starting, but he's still a guy that you feel capable in if you got down to him. This year on the team is Cameron Dyer, who's I believe out for this game and has been out for a long time with an injury. You don't have a third experienced guy. Just something to put out there if the Sun Devils fall down to that level. That's something to watch out for.
Who's the emergency quarterback on the roster?
I don't know who that would be, to be honest. That's a good question.
Last year it was Scadaboo.
Yeah.
Andrew, do you still have the eligibility left?
And unfortunately, if I was on the team, my injury report would be out due to lack of talent.
and I don't think I can get enrolled soon enough to even be considered to be listed.
I'd be on like the 1,000th string or something like that.
The fourth string to the practice squad.
Waterboy.
Like Austen, I'm not going to highlight one player. I'm instead going to highlight a position group as what I'm watching, and I'm watching the offensive line. I want to see how these guys step up after the loss of Ben Coleman, and how they will provide that pass protection for whoever is back there, either Sam or Sims, and how they recover from just getting railroaded out of Salt Lake City. Andrew alluded to it earlier in the show. Normally, I am the optimist, but I've been turning over every stone. I've been turning every page, trying to find some sense of hope. And I am also picking the Sun Devils as losers. I think it's going to be a 34-20 final. I think that it stays within 2 touchdowns, but I think that the Sun Devils get it closer late in the game against as the clock's winding down. I don't think that the actual game will be as close as the scoreboard will show at the end. But here's hoping that we're all collectively wrong. Here's hoping that there's some Mountain America magic in store for Saturday afternoon. Saturday's game will be kicking off at 1 p.m. on Fox, and here this is it, the make or break game, really. So
Yeah.
For Austen Bundy and Andrew Hayslett, I'm Tom Hardon. Thank you again for listening to this week's episode, and as always, forks up and go Devils.